Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the Footy Show live here on Patreon. Get your comments in if you want us to talk about anything that you think needs to be chatted about with the return of the Premier League, Serie A and the Liga on the horizon. Please let us know. If you're not watching it live, join us on Patreon. Why not? Get over and join us for a month, see what you think. Live shows every day. And you can, whether it's about Everton or whether it's about general football, you can join us. So get your questions in. Little story I seen yesterday just on Twitter about Real Madrid. I haven't seen this story really anywhere, which is a bit weird. But apparently Real Madrid are going to be playing their remaining games of this season at their mini stadium. I think it's called Real Madrid City, I think it's called. It's their training base, and they have this little mini stadium where their second team and their academy teams playing. But I know Barcelona have something similar. They built it last year where their women's team, and they're absolutely fantastic. Something that I thought when Everton were building Finch Farm, they should have had one eye on. I know that we've got our show pitch, but I always thought we should have, because Finch Farm is so big.
Yeah. There was lots of scope for it.
I know that it's not the greatest place to get to in terms and road management and all the rest of it. It's not easy. It's a couple of lanes either side of it. Yeah. But I always thought Everton should have a little mini pitch like Real Madrid. So Real Madrid are going to play their remaining games. I think the Bernabeu was just about to get work done on it.
Yeah.
This was work that was going to get done while they were playing on. I think it was.
It's the skin. It's the big
metal and it was the roof as well.
Roof, yeah.
So, but what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I suppose if you've got the space to do it, you've got the ground to do it, and the players are happy to do it, then why not? Because I suppose in a way, the only thing is, in a way, that's kind of like you're given. I think you might be giving the players the wrong message about the games.
Okay.
I think in your stadium with no one there, fair enough. It's different. It's difficult. But it's still, that's where you'd play your games. Whereas I think at the training ground, it might have that feel of just training ground games. You know what I mean? But then the other side to it is, why play in a big empty stadium if you've got the facilities where both teams can get changed away from each other, and you can go in and play it and get out. And I'm guessing you can control the area around it.
Well, this is what I was thinking, and I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago about the Etihad and the Man City in their mini stadium, and I said to you, I don't understand why City don't just say, we'll play in this little stadium. This little it's right next to the Etihad anyway, but why play in a big, massive, rattling stadium when you could play in a small little stadium where you might be able to manage it better, police it better, and certainly for a club like Everton, if they were playing, I'm not advocating playing at Walton Hall Park or anything, but if you're playing at your training ground, like you just said there, you can let the opposition coach in, or whatever it is. They come off, they're already changed, I would be presumed, or maybe you set up a couple of Portakabins outside for them to get changed. They go on the pitch and you're ready to start, and the same for the referees and the home team.
Is there more likely for Everton that people will train up at Finch Farm, where there's no massive fences, or I'm just beyond that road? It's only do you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's even a consideration.
No,
for Everton, of course it isn't. But for someone like Real Madrid, I've seen the aerial bit of it, and you drive into it, so they can just block all that off and go, the stadium's over there, so you standing here means nothing. For someone like us, I don't think it'd be.
I just thought it was quite interesting, and obviously shows what you've mentioned it there. It'd be interesting. It's somewhere the players train every day in those facilities. They obviously feel comfortable, and they'll, like you said, it is that mental approach of you taking the games lightly if you're not playing in the Bernabeu. But they, as a club, they must be thinking, well, if we don't have to go into the city centre, if we don't have to go near the stadium, we can leave the stadium now for the next few months. I don't know if this is something that will continue into next season. But if we can just leave it for next and allow that work to be done and nothing to be stopped and it's just to get on with it. I just thought it was interesting. And not heard of anyone else doing anything similar. I heard of like Barcelona doing anything similar. But very interesting. And you know, we've been talking the last few days about you know, the Premier League and neutral grounds and Everton obviously being mentioned there. And obviously looks like they're gonna have to bring in separate facilities as well because you know, we've heard there might be grounds, certainly somewhere like Goodison, might need extra facilities outside to make sure that players do, while they're getting changed and stuff, they are socially distanced from each other and from the referees. And it just seems funny that we might have facilities elsewhere that we could use that aren't necessarily neutral. But, I mean, you know, because it's going to be different, isn't it? I can imagine Goodison if Everton play in Rome. I can imagine the away team will get changed in Portakabin's outside and will come through the side gate while our players come up through the tunnel or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's what's going to happen, isn't it? I mean, again, are people going to be able to climb up the fence and have? I suppose you're going to have stewards stood at the thing. You know, I'm thinking of, you know, say Liverpool fans, if they know Liverpool are getting changed in that Portakabin, like shouting them as they walk through or whatever, do you know what I mean? You've got that to think about if that game was to go ahead. But in general, the Portakabin thing, I think, even with some of the new grounds, the way that the tunnels are, the Portakabin, apparently some of the newer stadiums are going to have them as well, regardless of their own, just to keep... Because what it is it's not necessarily... It's having the biggest match day squad, because it looks as though they're going to be 20 now, I think. 9 subs, they're saying. Now Chelsea want 9 subs, don't they? Which is okay, fair enough. I don't know why you'd need 9, but maybe, you know...
I don't mind that idea.
No, I'm saying, but maybe there's a reason for it. So therefore, 20 of them and officials and staff and then going down, it's never going to work, is it? And all that. So that, because at the minute they have got to... I know it sounds ridiculous because then they go on the pitch and they're in close contact, but it's everybody else as well. Then players, when they're on the pitch, aren't necessarily in close contact with staff of the other team on both sides, are they, and all of that. So having a Portakabin, you could see the Portakabin being behind the park end stand, that door opening, and straight through the thing and out onto the pitch, aren't they? And at the end, they walk off and get back in, get changed, and then a coach and they go away. And what have you. So just looking at our stadium, it makes sense. But I believe other stadiums as well, even some new ones. Obviously ones like Spurs, which are brand new, are huge, so they'll probably be okay. Man City's quite big. But, you know, there's other ones like that are quite new. I'm not sure what Liverpool's are like inside there.
Well, they've got the new stand, haven't they? So it's pretty big. I went in there last 2 years ago when Brazil played there. And it's, you know, it's all modern and all big. And that's the big thing with Goodison, isn't it, with the main stand? You know, you go into anyone's been up the tunnel, it's so narrow. And, you know, even amongst yourselves, it's such a small place. And even if it's like, it sounds stupid, but they've got to cover all these bases. It's like people, if you're coming back out of the ground, out after, like, say, half time, and you're rubbing sweat on the wall because you just walk such a narrow way. The sweat, even if you like flicked your hair and sweat went on the walls, that they have to think about all that, don't they?
Everything's got to be.
And anything that. So I think I could see a situation where Everton players have to get changed in Portakabins in park. I can imagine. No, but I can imagine that they would look at it and go, well, do we really need either set of players? Why don't we just keep this as sterile as we can? I don't know, I'm just saying. But I could see that at some grounds. I could certainly see it at Goodison, just knowing how small.
I think it'll be, the away team will be in a Portakabin behind the stand. And then when that's cleared, when they've gone, they'll leave it a cut and then they'll go in and deep clean it and then it's ready. Then everyone who goes in knows it's a sterile situation. So I think a lot of clubs will have that as well. In the Premier League.
Gary Ward makes a good point here. Couldn't the police close off the access roads to Finch Farm? They could, because there's only 2. You only have to close it off at the top.
They could do, yeah.
And close it off at the bottom.
At the top and bottom. They're not
and the other side's a motorway.
They're not through roads anyway, so it wouldn't really it's difficult, you know what I mean? You wouldn't get close to it, I suppose. But the thing is, if it's not, listen, Gary, there'll be some regulation or some ruling by the Premier League or something that that you can't do it or whatever, won't it? You know.
Oh, listen, we're just thinking out loud. It's just a discussion. I thought it's always interesting, just because a couple of weeks ago I was talking about Man City and the idea, because it's obviously it's something we don't really have here. Clubs having little mini stadiums.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something actually I could imagine Liverpool are getting their training ground built now up in Kirby. So I could imagine
they'll do one.
I could imagine. I think Klopp's that's the way he thinks, and I could imagine them saying, "Why are we having our under-20?" Especially with what's happened this year, with him saying about having to play teams in like the FA Cup and stuff when he didn't want to. It wouldn't surprise me if he said, "Well, there's one way to sort this out. Let's just go and build a little mini stadium where our ladies can play, where our academy players can play, and we can have our our under-23 games there." It wouldn't surprise me, because that's
I think Everton's 23s will go to Walton Park.
And we've said this all along.
Because I think it's the only way. I'd seen a thing yesterday about the women's game, saying it'll take 10 years to recover because it's just been knocked to the side. No one seems to be asked about it in the slightest.
Especially with that Euros now in 2 years' time.
So it's all that's took a step back. So that Everton are trying to build on their thing, and if Usmanov's nephew's in and he's involved in that side of it. So I could quite easily see Everton's 23s, and it makes sense. Either play at Goodison or play at that stadium. Don't play games up in Southport or something. It's just nonsense. And play in a place that you've got control over.
Yeah. And
do you know what I mean? And the pitch. So.
And I can see that. You can see that more and more, especially just the way things are going. And the way women's football's growing as well. I know it's had a setback, but the way it's growing as well, they deserve. Any footballer who's a professional deserves to play in a good pitch. And they deserve. And if you want your club to look professional and act professional, and we also know that with women's football and with, say, under-23s football, where you can... What's the best way I can say this? Well, put it this way, our academy have got their own sponsor, haven't they? So if you got somewhere where you can put the assets of the women's team and the under-23s, because they've got different sponsors and all the rest of it. Yeah. It all helps. It all helps the football club. And I can imagine that's the next thing, a lot of these clubs will latch on to.
One of the things, just because we're on the Premier League at the moment, is this: if there's any positive tests, players will now miss the beginning of the season. Now, we had over 1,000 tests on Friday, I think it was, and there was no positive, 0 positive tests, which is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. But if anybody, because they're getting tested 2 or 3 times a week now, if any player now tests positive, they miss the start of the season, because they have to... It's a bit mad. They've got to self-isolate for 7 days, and then they then can't get back involved in competitive football for 2 weeks after that self-isolation. So it's 3 weeks, really, when they're saying at first it was only 7 days. So it's because they've then got to be reintroduced back into training slowly, which is right, because obviously they want to keep control, make sure the lungs are fine, and don't want to put any unnecessary pressure on the body if it's trying to fight an illness. But you would like to think that set of positive tests will be what's going forward, because that's what we've seen in Germany, haven't we? We've seen negative tests to me. 0.
Do you know those positive tests? I don't know whether this has been revealed, but those negative tests without the people who've already tested positive? Because they'd still be positive, wouldn't they?
Yeah. So they probably won't be tested really this time, because they're still self-isolating. From the week
No, I wasn't sure, because I just thought you couldn't be tested and then
they had the same with Dybala, didn't he?
That's what I'm saying.
Dybala tested positive 4 times in 6 weeks. But what he said was,
it's the same coronavirus.
It's the same coronavirus in his body.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't harmful to anybody else. But what they're saying now is the coronavirus shows up in your body for a while, even if it's like 1 or 2.
Dormant.
It's just nothing. It's like dying out, but it takes a while to clear. So you can get a positive. This is why they're saying there can be a contradiction with a positive and a negative test, or people who then test positive, then negative, can test positive again. But you can't get it twice, is what they're saying.
I know there's a lot of people watching, so why isn't there a lot of people asking questions?
Mm.
Steve Kelly says, all right, lads, hope you're both well. How do you think the Premier League has handled the whole episode? In my opinion, they should have been more transparent towards fans. Do you know what, Steve? I actually, in hindsight, I actually think whether you like it or not, I think they've been very clever, and I think we spoke about this yesterday. I think what they've done is
we did when no one was
watching. I think what they've done is they've been planning. They've been one step ahead of each phase when it's been unlocked, but have not revealed that publicly to the public. So that, because if you think about what we've been doing for the last month, we've been talking, and while we've been talking, we've been basing everything on what's happening right now. So when everyone's been losing their mind about starting football, they haven't been thinking about football on the 20th of June. They've been thinking about football on the whatever date it was, so 1st of May or whatever. And we haven't been able to see past what's happening right now.
We have.
No, I know we've spoke about this, and I think
at times.
So I think what they've done is they've gone into meetings. They've just kept on putting out this line of we still want to play, blah blah blah. But obviously a lot more has been done in that time. Dates have been put forward, and I keep on saying this, whether we like it or whether anyone likes it or whether anyone likes games behind closed doors, it really doesn't matter. 20 football clubs in the Premier League just want to get the season finished and have been deciding how that's going to be done. But I think the fact that they've kept quiet is probably been for the best of keeping faux outrage down. And that's probably where you've got to say, all right, we don't like it, but actually they've handled it. They've handled it quite respectively. Whether you think they've done it well,
I think they've handled it quite well.
Okay.
And I don't like the Premier League. I don't like the way they do things. The integrity side of it isn't great at times. But I think they've probably handled this as well as what they could have done, maybe, in a situation. I think it's a difficult situation. It's a very... When I say handled it well, what I mean is once the decision was made that it was going to be played again, people will have a problem with them playing football, and I'm not going to sit here and tell people they're wrong to have that opinion because they're absolutely right. Lives matter more. However, we've said it a few times, money drives everything. Money's driving people back to work, doing normal jobs, doing low skilled jobs, which has kept us going. These people have had to go out to work every day and do different things. People are having to go back to work now. You only have to drive around to see how many people are back on the roads, and it'll be people who are going to work as well, and people doing the job. So money drives everything back. So it's driving football back, because whether people like it or not, again, it's a business, and that's the way it is. These football clubs won't survive without these games. They won't. Whether people can look and go, that's nonsense. See, I think what's happened is the clubs have handled it poorly. I think not necessarily the Premier League.
Yeah.
I think if clubs, Simon Jordan said it, Steve Parish, who I got loads of time for, the Palace chairman, is he, or the CEO? Chairman, isn't he? I've got loads of time for him. He's handled it well. He come out and went, listen, this is the cold hard facts, whether we like it or we don't. We need to play these games. We need football. We need to know when we're playing. Otherwise, our football club isn't here. Palace and Burnley will be amongst clubs that wouldn't be here in October if there was no football. So that shout of we can't play till fans will go back in, I think, has been put to one side. So taking that to one side, that it's coming back, then I think the Premier League have done all right with it. Because at first we were going, stop leaking things, but they were leaking little bits, but they were doing other stuff. They have been one step ahead because they've had the likes of Oliver Dowden involved. They've had the likes of the government advising them what the next step is, because the government know the Premier League, A, brings a hell of a lot of money into this economy, and B, they know that for the distraction and the morale, if you like, of the country, or just something else to think about.
Distraction.
Is that so? They've give them the information they've needed to know. And we said a few weeks ago was that it's today, right now, it doesn't look great, but who knows what it looked like in June the 20th when it starts. Now, too many people still are dying at the moment. They are
324 today.
Well, but that's down from yesterday. But it was 1,000 when this was being discussed in April. March the 25th, I think, was one of the things. And then April the 14th was the highest it got to. And people talking about football, I get that.
Yeah.
But it's coming back, so we have to. So I think personally, from a business perspective, in terms of how they're doing things, they've done it okay because they're following the roadmap, which is, of course, Germany.
I think the problem, and this was I don't know whether Steve was sort of alluding to this, and you just mentioned it. Football clubs want to be seen, certainly the big ones. We've seen this before with things like, I know Man United are, well, they're not even a public company anymore, are they? But anything financially negative hurts their value, essentially. So when there's negative stories, negativity drives negativity. Negativity.
Yeah.
They don't want it out there that they're losing money. They want it to be seen like everything's going great, right? And that's why I think they've kept up this image of everything's okay. Some of the clubs, like you mentioned, Palace and Burnley, have come out and gone, everything's not all right, because they can afford the brand, because the brand is built on working class football club, salt of the earth. We haven't got much money, whereas the big clubs, the Champions League clubs, their image is built on we've got all the money. We're powerful. So what you don't want is for that power to be diminished. And the minute you start going round telling people, having sob stories, this is actually where Liverpool shot themselves in the foot with the furloughing thing, because it suddenly told everybody, you're not as big and strong as you think you are you? And that can lead into so many different things. When someone's offering you a deal for commercial deal, and like, are you sure you can't afford to take this? Liverpool are, in negotiations with someone and saying, "No, we'll give you X amount for your whatever, new, don't know, whatever."
Yeah.
And Liverpool go, "Oh yeah," and they go, "No, hang on, you're struggling because you said you were struggling," and that's where clubs.
No, I get that. I totally agree with you, but what I'm saying is, that's why I said the Premier League, in my opinion, have done all right. The clubs are the ones who have made it difficult for fans.
Okay. Just some breaking news.
Okay.
Mina's out for the season.
Is he? Why?
I don't know.
Great.
We'll talk more about that on
good.
Live at 5.
It's good, isn't it? So Holgate and Keane for the rest of the season. Excellent. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, football clubs have to...
Again, the devil's tip. It's just annoying. No, you're right. Football, I just think they should have come out and gone. I think if more clubs said, we're all in this together, and it's a difficult thing, we're in a difficult period of time, then everyone would be more understanding.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that it is like puff your chest out and go, oh yeah, everything's amazing. People will then rightly question it. Why are you playing these games then? If everything's great, why are you bothering when people are losing lives? Because the proper thing, what you should have done if you're taking money out the equation, is left football till September and give everybody a break, try and get us down. And the fact that they're not means that it's causing a friction between people.
Well, that's just the way it is.
But
at the moment. Right, let's move on. Very quickly. Ralph Hasenhuttl has signed a new 4-year contract at Southampton, which is incredible considering that, when you think about when they got beat 9-0 by Leicester and stuff.
Yeah, he
but they stuck with him. let him get on with his job. He obviously had a brilliant upturn in around Christmas time.
Yeah.
And it looked like they were obviously favourites to go down, but that upturn has propelled them into mid-table. And the clubs, there's a lot of rumours of the club. But sorry, I was just distracted by a demeanour thing.
Forget about it.
No, I was just read something. But they've obviously decided that he's the man to take them forward, and he's the way of him doing things obviously works with what they've got off the pitch, which doesn't seem like they've got loads, and his obviously working with the young players is the way they want to go.
Yeah, I think for them, obviously to survive that 9-0, when he looked on his way out, didn't he? Get beat 9-0 at home. As a manager, you've got to ask questions, haven't you? And they were we won down there and we weren't playing well. They were dreadful. But you're right, he had an incredible upturn in form. I know they went down to Chelsea and beat Chelsea 2-0 and had some good results. Danny Ings has done really well for them and scored a lot of goals this season. So they obviously see, they're seeing a manager who they can keep for a few years and give him the tools to try to develop something there. They have been well run, Southampton, in general. Obviously, Les Reed does a great job. I know Liverpool come and took a lot of the best players off them, and they were on the ropes a little bit, with not replacing players over a period of time. But they've got a manager. The question for the likes of Southampton is, if you sack him, who do you get in who's better, who they can get at the moment? And he knows he's been in there now. I don't even think he's not even been there a year yet, has he? So
it's around about a year.
Or is it? Oh yeah, no, he come in the back end of Christmas last year, so he's been over a year now. Sorry. So there's no point at the moment for them. Let him see what he can do. But they obviously believe in him, giving him a 4-year deal. So they like what they see, and that's fair enough.
And they've obviously got, as I said, there's talk that the club's financially in a bit of a mess and it needs to be sold and all that kind of thing. So they obviously feel like they don't want to add to that by sacking someone. So
well, if he had a good record in Germany. He's good with Leipzig, wasn't he? And he knows his football, so he might get them playing a brand of football, picking players up here and there, getting them to a position where they're always mid-table, and then if they get a buyer with a bit more money, then maybe look further ahead. But it's stability, isn't it? Your club always needs stability, and you need a manager that you believe in. They went from Koeman, they had Claude Puel, who they didn't like. So for them, they'll want someone in who they think, this fella, we'll have him for 2 or 3, 4 years, and he might be able to develop us.
Fair play to Southampton. There you have it. This has been the Footy Show Daily. We've been live on Patreon. If you've missed it, if you're not on Patreon, join us on Patreon. The link is in the description. Let us know your thoughts on anything we've been chatting about. And we'll catch you tomorrow. See you later.
Where's that?
Joyce.
What's he said? We missed the rest of the season.